Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Chill Zone podcast. I am your host, Wyatt. To my left is Gabe, and to my right is
Hello.
Scott. This is our first ever podcast, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, guess we need to get introductions out of the way. So we are all, unfortunately, Columbus Blue Jackets fans. Yay! I started following the team the 2014-15 season. If you are a Columbus fan, then you know that was the All-Star Game season. That's how I actually was aware of the Blue Jackets. We went to the All-Star Game, and that's when I started falling in love with hockey. Figured out we had an NHL team, and have been a fan ever since. There's been some rough times, obviously. If you're CBJ faithful, you've known that we've had some rough seasons. But yeah, I really enjoy the team. I follow it as much as I can. Yada yada yada. I also used to play hockey. I played for CIHC. If you guys know what that is, it's the Columbus Ice Hockey Club. I played from 2016 to 2019. So good old alumni. But on to you, Gabe.
In my case, I have a slightly unusual introduction to hockey. I am originally from Brazil, but I went to Cincinnati for college. I went to the University of Cincinnati, go Bearcats. And one of my first dates there, I went with a girl to a Cincinnati Cyclones game. Which is ECHL hockey, the prime,
Oh yeah, definitely.
truly prime territory. But while I ended up breaking up with that girl eventually. The love for hockey started there. My first kiss was actually at a hockey game, which is fun.
Ooh.
And a lot of my friends were from Columbus, so as a result, I've had the opportunity to be close to a bunch of Columbus Blue Jackets fans, and I've followed the team since like 2019. I actually got to see the sweep in one of my friends' college bedrooms, so
Nice.
that was one of my first CBJ memories.
All right.
It's a good one to have. That's a good memory.
Yeah. All right. You, Zach. Or Scott. Not Zach.
Wow.
Zach.
Already.
Wrong
First
person.
episode.
Shush.
Yeah.
Silence.
Episode.
Zach is our producer.
Yeah,
for
Zach's
context.
our producer, so that's why I made the slip up. Anyways, on to you, Scott.
I'm Scott. I'm probably the old man of the group, at least in this trio here.
Yes.
I'm also the one who's been following the Blue Jackets for the longest. So I am a lifelong hockey fan. I got into it when I was 5 or 6. Before the Blue Jackets were even around, I was a Detroit and Pittsburgh fan to start
Lord.
with. And then the Blue Jackets showed up in 2000, and the rest is history. So I've followed it all the way through the dark early times to Yarmo and Torts to now here we are. So, yeah, I don't really have a first Blue Jackets memory, I guess, but
Yeah. I guess my first Blue Jackets memory other than the All-Star game was watching Dubinsky beat the crap out of Crosby one game.
oh, it's a good
Yeah.
one. That's
I think your first Blue Jackets memory, Siska's like the inaugural game.
Yeah, honestly, it really is. I do the first like real memories is literally me in my grandparents' basement. They had a huge TV, so I would literally just sit down there with a bowl of popcorn and watch Blue Jackets games. Just terrible teams. But Jody Shelley was there and he would beat people up, so everything was okay, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you have Rick
Yeah.
Nash surrounded by nothing.
I watched that famous Rimmer call. I watched that.
Oh,
live,
the Phoenix?
against
Another
Phoenix.
nice
yeah.
Dang.
Yep.
Yeah, that one, that's a classic rumor right there. So I guess we might as well just get started. Preseason, we got to see a little bit of Dean Evason's systems a little bit. I would say my personal thoughts, you could already tell there was a big difference. But unfortunately, the past few years of Columbus injury syndrome started happening to the likes of, Danforth was already injured, then Voronkov got injured, and then the big one hit, and that was Jenner. And
Yeah.
so
Brindley too.
Brindley too, yeah.
Broke
Brindley too.
his finger right before the end of preseason.
So going into the season, our expectations were none. There was none.
My expectation was to finish 32nd.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
it was possible to
absolutely.
finish 33rd, I was expecting us to be there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting rock bottom, but I was expecting 30th, 29th again. But then game 1 happened against Minnesota. So let's do that recap real quick. Scott, my name memory is terrible.
Yeah, Scott,
Yeah.
take it away.
Scott?
Yeah, Scott, you
So
want to do it?
What's up? Yeah, sure. So, did we all watch the game?
Yes.
I don't know.
I
didn't
did.
cover
I
this
did watch
before
the
the
game.
actual podcast. I did as well. Really, I mean, great game, right? Just a fun game to watch. It started fast paced, in my opinion, and just kind of like built from there. Started typical Jackets fashion though, with a Boldy goal, Matt Boldy scoring in the first, and then Johnson firing back. We can get into him a little bit later. And then a couple goals from Eriksson Ek and Zuccarello for Mini, and then Werenski on the power play, which is not something we heard a lot last season.
Power play, not good.
Power play and Werenski in general is not somebody that generally meets. So
Yeah.
No, it's really interesting. Big highlights. Ken Johnson and Zach Werenski were both really, really good. Johnson in particular had 2 points, goal and an assist, and Werenski had, what was it? Something crazy, like 7 shots, 11 attempts at goal. Like,
Something like that.
was just
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John. Yeah. I guess we'll start with Zach Werenski. He looked like he had like 2017 vintage form all of a sudden again, which we haven't been able to say since pretty much his rookie year. He looked dynamic. He looked very offensively gifted. Apparently during the offseason he was training with Roman Yossi. Pretty good defenseman, I'd say. I think we could all agree with
bit.
that. And he decided to switch his stick. He switched, I think, to a different curve, Roman Yossi actual stick, and he went up from an 85 flex to a 95 flex. If you're kind of new, flex is just how rigid the stick is. So the lower the number, the more flexible it is. The higher the number, the more rigid. So because he made it more rigid, that means when you get a perfect shot off, it's going to be much, much harder. And you could see that on that power play. The power play looked dynamic, which we have
for the
not
first
been
time
able to
people were
see.
moving their for the first time people were moving their feet.
Yeah.
Yep. And the entries with Johnson, we finally have somebody who can actually carry the puck and do something with it. On Werenski, like, the most evident thing to me is one, the style of play with Dean Evison, and two, he lost, I think he said he lost like 10 pounds over the summer.
Yeah.
To his game playing weight, and you can tell he is just skating everywhere. He looks
It
so
looks
much better.
effortless.
Oh yeah.
I think he was against like Boldy or someone like that. It was like Boldy or Zuccarello. Those are not slow players, and he was just skating right by them with the puck, which is no small feat. And yeah, that power play was dynamic. I think it was Johnson to Chinakhov, and Chinakhov set up Werenski for that one-timer, and that's another thing that always drove me nuts with past seasons is the power play never used one-timers, and you never saw Zach Werenski take a one-timer. We saw
the
both.
power play did use one-timers. The power play was only just trying to funnel one-timers to line it and nobody else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was hugely predictable. So
Yeah, I having Line A, I think really opens up that power play, at least for now, especially for guys like Werenski, who now doesn't have to kind of force himself to pass like an awkward position to try to pass it to Line A because they're both on the same side. And it's just not. It's a lot more fluid now. It's a lot more like people seem a little bit more creative rather than just, well, Line A's over there and he's standing there and he's shooting the puck and that's about all we got.
Yeah.
I think the other star of that power play now is also Ken Johnson, who gets the half wall. The spot that he is basically built to play.
Yeah, he basically not going to mention the name, but he basically took over his spot, and you could quickly tell he models his game after him in a way. But unlike him, he's bigger and he weighs more and arguably has even more talent. So what he could do with the puck, just it's able to create confusion for the opposing team, and they don't really know what he's going to do. So
it's definitely helped by the way that he's skating much. Ken Johnson is now skating way faster on his acceleration. We talking about how about option changes in the off season for Werenski, how he lost a bunch of weight and now is skating much faster. Well, Ken Johnson apparently spent the entire the entire off season doing leg day.
Yeah, he was doing leg day and
accelerating way faster, and he still got all the flexibility and work on the edges that he had before.
Yeah, and that was I guess the biggest knack on his game was he was a little too light, a little too slow, so people could just knock him off the puck because he just didn't have the weight to push through it. So now that's changed.
And that's huge. That's huge. He's definitely stronger on the puck. And we heard about it in the preseason too. I think it was Corrali who mentioned that Ken Johnson's been a puck hound all summer, and that I don't know if it was a mentality switch or just kind of like a growth in the off season. That mentality switch has really taken that extra weight. It's kind of made it effective instead of just a thing that happened. If we want, we could probably roll that into the Colorado game because he played 21 minutes and 30 seconds, led all the forwards in ice time for Colorado. But 6-4 win. 6-4 win. What did y'all see versus Colorado?
What I saw, this is going to sound weird because we had our line go 1, 2, and 3 on all forwards. I saw a Colorado team completely let down by its goaltending.
Yeah, the goaltending was definitely not good. I would say, for just going down the goal list, that Werenski goal, that was just a beautiful play. You weren't stopping that. That was just a little bit of defensive breakdown, and then Chinakhov deciding he's just going to be an assist magnet all of a sudden.
That pass was gorgeous.
It was a very gorgeous pass, and you could tell how much strength he has. It's just insane.
Yeah, and it's such a simple play that how are you going to defend against literally someone crashing into with that much of a deflect?
Yeah,
it's a very classic play. It's very difficult to defend for a reason. And it's the reason it's the goat that every fourth liner scores.
Yeah, basically, but instead of a fourth liner, it was
Werenski streaking down the middle.
Yeah,
that skating was on full display there because I think he was deep in the defensive zone.
He was,
too.
and then
he
just
made
activated.
A face-up play. Yep, he just took off.
Yeah. By the way, back to the Minnesota game real quick. That was a 3-2 loss.
It was a 3-2. Did I say 3-2 win?
I don't know. It was a loss, but to be honest, with the way they played, if you take Gustafson's incredible goaltender performance out of that, Minnesota probably does not get out of there with 2 points. That really should have been a Columbus win.
It definitely went.
Yeah.
It definitely could have gone either way, because I do think that, I mean, that 3 goals is pretty representative of what Minnesota generated. So I mean, I think maybe if Gustafson's a little bit worse, we at least get it to OT.
Yeah.
Or we don't get a goal called off due to goaltender interference.
That too.
Ooh.
Which is like perfectly reasonable. Like
Yeah.
that was a perfectly fair goaltender interference, but there's definitely a war where like JVR is not literally on top of Gustafsson.
Yeah.
That was 50-50, and I think Gus definitely sold it a little bit. He definitely
Yeah,
kinda stuck
he
out
knew
the
that
blocker
he knew
there.
that JVR was there. He felt it on his blocker, and he's like, okay, if I sell this, it should come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we can go back to the Colorado game now, because I just wanted to
Oh yeah.
make sure. So it was 1-0 after that, and then Kent Johnson was just like, you know what? You know that Michigan form that I had back in, 2020, 2021? Yeah, 2020, 2021, and then 21, 22. I'm just going to put that on full display and show perfectly why I was the 5th overall pick in 2021, and just sniped it after just streaking across the middle of the ice, full display of his new speed and his underrated shot, honestly. But I will say
It's not the strongest shot, but
it's
there's
not the
some
strongest.
deception on it.
There's so much deception.
It's very difficult to predict like when he's gonna shoot if you're a defenseman. He's just gonna make you like bite or think he's gonna do something else, and then he just shoots with like a regular ass wrist shot. It's the most like NHL average wrist shot out there.
Yeah.
The angle on that goal was crazy. Like, I think that was a little bit the goaltending confidence had, but at the same time, that angle that's not an easy angle to stop for a goaltender.
No,
Yeah.
Especially because you don't expect players to shoot from there and to get that much elevation on the puck. Because if they do shoot from that, it's usually, in your chest, something like that. So for it to just go bar in like that was ridiculous.
I think it went like the post was right to Georgia's left shoulder. It went between his left shoulder and the post. How do you aim that? That is such a weird angle.
I don't know, honestly. But yeah, that was assisted by Christensen as well. He didn't really have too much involved in the play, but hey, they're buddies, so might as well include it.
Yeah.
The bonus apple there.
And then the power plays started coming for Colorado, and their power plays unfair. That there's no other way to put it. It was McKinnon.
Oh yeah, we have Renton and McKinnon and Makar.
Yeah. I mean,
Hey, and Ivan.
Yeah, Ivan.
Don't forget Ivan.
Hey, he got the primary assist on that.
He did.
So yeah. But unlike this is where we could definitely tell this was a different Jackets team compared to the last few years. If this was a last year's Jackets team, we would have crumbled immediately. As soon as that goal went in, it would have been 2-2, and then we'd be losing. But instead, out of the second period, Fantilli it was a weak goal. There's no getting around that. But if you don't shoot it, you're not going to score. And he shot it in the correct spot. Went straight 5-hole through Georgiev. So
I mean, if we want to talk about Fantilli and like weak situations, Fantilli himself had an okay game. His line was awful.
Yeah, it
during
was
the
not
Colorado
good.
game.
Just cratered. The thing I like about the Fantilli goal, yes, the shot was weak. Should it have gone in? Should it not? I mean, there's a debate there. The play to lead to the shot, though, and that's Fantilli using both his size and his speed to curve in like that, and really just kind of he took the space to make that shot. That's vintage Fantilli. And I think we've seen some flashes of that in both Minnesota and Colorado. It's just, I mean, you can see that his line mates aren't able to fully take advantage of what Fantilli can do right now.
How bad was his line in Colorado? They got shot Crater like 8-20.
Yeah, it was not good.
Nuts.
They struggled with maintaining the puck, passes, and then defensive zone as well. but his
Yeah,
line mates.
it was
it
6-26.
Oh,
It was even worse.
attempts in 14 minutes of 5-on-5 ice time.
Oh boy.
oh,
Oh boy.
bro! If you're so 6-26, that's the kind of like your team is getting cratered, but that's like on the scoreboard. If that's your line, what are you doing?
Yeah, that JVR Fantilli Blebank line doesn't really work, but the main problem is they don't really have anyone else to
Yeah.
put out there because of the injuries that we mentioned at the beginning of the show. So making do with what we have.
We did miss a small highlight in the Colorado game. Zach Aston Reese.
Oh yeah, that was the beginning of the game.
The
Yeah,
Zach Aston Reese, another injury.
curse.
yeah. The 27 curse is real, honestly. Ryan Murray, Adam Boquist, now Zach Aston Reese. Second game as a Blue Jacket. Got claimed off waivers. Barely been a Blue Jacket for a week and a half, and I can't remember who it was exactly that hit him.
Chris Wagner.
It was Chris
Yeah, it was
Wagner.
Wagner.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Hit him. It was fairly
The
dirty
Surly
hit.
Hobbit of TD.
It was a bad
It was a
hit.
bad hit.
I don't think he was intentionally trying to hit him in the head, but that's what happened. Hit him in the head.
Shoulder to the nose.
Yeah, it took him out of the game. And I think is he day to day right now?
He
don't
is.
know
He
if
is.
he
I
got
think
an
he. I
update.
think he's on the ice, but he's not practicing with the team. I don't think.
Yeah, he's not going to be there for the Lions.
So
Not the next game.
hopefully he comes back soon because he fit pretty well in that fourth line with Corrali and Olivia, I would say.
He was,
He's
he, was,
acceptable.
he was a guy. I think that's one way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean he's fast. He has some skill. He's good in both ends. So I mean, yeah, he's
I don't know if good in both ends, but certainly defensively.
defensively, yeah. And he was because he has his speed. He was good at like the forecheck and all that. That's more what I was thinking. Not necessarily sniping 50 goals, So, yeah, the Fantilli goal, and then off of a weird play, honestly, Wood scores from Kelly and DeHaan. That was kind of a weird goal. Made it 3-2.
Defensive breakdown,
Yeah.
and
It was quick.
Tarasov was not seeing anything.
No, Wood.
Tarasov only saw the numbers of the guy in front of him.
Yeah, he only saw Miles Wood's ass in that goal.
No, that wasn't Miles Wood. There was somebody else. Miles Wood.
Or
did
no,
the
Parker Kelly. Sorry, Parker
It
Kelly.
was
Miles
Parker
Wood.
Kelly.
Yeah, it was Kelly. Yep.
So it made it 3-2, and then another power play happened for the Colorado Avalanche, and once again, you can't really stop that power play unless you're,
You have to be very high end.
unless you're the 99 Devils, you're not stopping that.
Hey, your goaltender gets lucky
Yeah,
or something.
get prime Dominic Hasek in there, and you might have a chance. But it was Middlestat from Colton and Makar tied it up. But we were mentioning earlier how past Blue Jackets team they would have just crumbled immediately after that. They
because the game
didn't.
felt tied.
Yeah, the game's tied.
And
But Marchenko, off of a kind of a broken play, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was kind of a broken play. It was kind of a weak goal. It kind of just like dribbled in, from what I remember. And,
oh yeah,
but
no, that goal.
That
goal went
right
off under it.
after.
They just That goal went off under it and then just rolled in.
I feel like I'm missing something. I am. I forgot to mention after that Fantilli goal, Georgiev got pulled, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
pulled for the second time
yeah,
in as many games.
yeah, second time he's gotten pulled. That's not a good start,
In 2 games.
especially on a contract year.
Yeah, I know. Georgiev is not off to a good start, and that's why I say, this is the Blue Jackets winning off poor goaltending, because none of the other 2 goals that they had were, particularly good on the Marchenko goal is ridiculous. That's a weak goal
Yeah,
in general.
yeah. It just
was
bounced
pure
over him.
It's pure slapstick.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had the Chirikov goal.
And that was I think he shot it, and then Mahan got the rebound and just passed it to Chinikov, and he just
Yeah,
Put it
went
in.
around the net pass to Shinakov, who buried it from
That
up close,
was a
and it's just
nice
like,
pass.
It was a nice
Yeah.
pass.
Ugh.
And that was that made it 5-3, and all of us were just kind of stunned because we're like, we're going into Colorado. They lost to Vegas embarrassingly. They're probably going to destroy us, but no,
yeah.
it was 5-3, and then that ends the second period.
Especially missing Zach Ashton Reeves.
So
Because you've got 17 forward, you're missing a forward, so you're down to 11 forwards. Sorry, I was about to say 17 forwards. That's ridiculous.
yeah, we have 17 forwards.
You're down to 11 forwards, and you're in Ball Arena, which is probably the most difficult rink to play in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That rink will, not in terms of like the crowd or anything, in terms of the stadium itself.
Yeah, because it's
you are literally in rarefied
you're a
actual
mile in the
rarefied
sky.
air. You are not gonna. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The atmosphere is gonna kill you.
Yeah. And the crowd is usually rocking in that arena, anyways. So
Oh, yeah.
And they're just a good home team.
They are a
as
good
well.
home
I think
team.
They had the most home wins last year.
I think so. Yeah.
They're just it's a good team. They play well at home. Like
And they can score at
Definitely.
will. So
Yeah.
And you literally have an environmental hazard.
yeah. So going into the third period, I think, was it on a power play or was it? No, I don't think it
No.
was on a power play. But Colton McKinnon, that if you watch that goal, no one is stopping that. That was just McKinnon showing why
No,
he's
that was
a
with the
top
goal.
3 player in the league.
Yeah. That was with the goalie pulled.
Oh, that was
I
with the
think.
goalie pulled. Yeah, sorry.
That was what the goalie pulled.
Yeah.
Yeah. But during that third period, the weirdest thing, Blue Jackets were like keeping them outside. They weren't really letting them shoot much of anything. They were causing fits anytime they got the puck into the offensive zone with their forecheck. It was quite an incredible sight because we've just not been used to much of anything in the third period. So you guys want to elaborate on that?
Scott.
Yeah, I mean I think we saw in the Minnesota game we saw a little bit of that aggression, and we kind of got a peek at least of the systems from Dean Evason's like coaching. Here against Colorado, I think we really saw the kind of motivational side of things that was a big part of his coaching in Minnesota, which is that like Evason's teams don't quit, and it's been since really prime Torts years since we've seen a Blue Jackets team that going into a third period, like a team storms back or something like that, they're not giving up, and they continued to pressure. We were playing it as aggressive as we could, 2 goals up, that would have been unimaginable last year.
That wouldn't have happened at all.
That would have been unimaginable, like, for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah. I would say the last Torts year, and then into the Larson era, and then the Pascal Vincent year. Yeah, that was never happening. So that made it 5-4 on the empty net, and then they pulled the goalie again, and they took a penalty with about 38 seconds left. I think it was it Putia? Yeah, it was Putia going for the puck,
drew a
and
penalty.
Yeah, and Middlestat just drug him down because he didn't have a choice. He just
He
yanked
he held his stick.
he just yanked the stick
just,
away from him.
He just clanked the stick.
Yeah, but he
was
didn't
great.
have a choice. He knew he was having to take a penalty to prevent a goal. But the two notable things out of that was McKinnon got a 10-minute misconduct out of that because I think it was just frustration boiling over, and he just lost it, and then 10-minute misconduct, you get out. And then after that, it was a CBJ power play, but Avalanche pulled the goalie again, and on a really, honestly, kind of nice play, Monahan scored the empty net with Marchenko giving him the puck so he can score on his birthday.
A very nice play from Marchenko there. Very sweet.
Yeah, it's nice to see I think we've started to see it pretty early this year. The like personal, like emotional connection between the team. You can tell they're already getting pretty close. Chinnikov and Monahan are already showing off a decent amount of chemistry in there. The team's going out and doing what golf and who knows what else in their little team building things, and I think it's nice to see at least a locker room that's kind of coming together early in the year rather than becoming disjointed even before the season starts like it was last year.
Gabe, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah. I think the other thing that I kind of want to add is like they kind of have to. There is definitely something to say about the unfortunate passing of Johnny Gaudreau, which is like the team has to be there for one another. They really do. They're the only people who have felt this as closely as they have in terms of this being a very close coworker of theirs, coworker and friend that has very unfortunately passed, and they are now their own support network. It's it's down to them, for lack of a better term. Yeah. So much like there was with Line when his dad passed in the 2022-2023 season.
I think so, yeah.
I think there's definitely going to be a sort of a rally around this one cause effect going on with this team of like, we're doing it for Johnny, I want to say.
Yeah. I think the best tribute you can give to him is to have fun and do the best you possibly can every night, honestly. And I think that's what he would want to see out of everyone. So, Blue Jackets...
And the second best tribute is for the NHL to give us a first overall pick.
Yeah, but... baby steps. So, the Jackets ended up winning... kind of in stunning fashion, 6-4 against the Colorado Avalanche, and improved to 1-1 for 2 points. Avalanche 0-2, and they've allowed, I think, like 14 goals in 2 games, which is terrible.
They've scored 8 in 2 games.
They've scored 8. The scoring is not the problem.
Yeah.
But that's like...
You are witnessing some 1985 stuff over there.
This is 1985 Oilers level of no defense.
Not just them.
Yeah.
Not just them either, though. What was it? Ottawa and the Kings today.
Oh, my God.
He just set them into overtime. Yeah, that was... Yeah, and the Kings are supposed to be good defensively, so I don't know what happened that game. I didn't really see many highlights. I just saw the score, and I'm like, what? Makes no sense.
20-minute long highlight video.
Yeah, of just goals upon goals. So,
dude, the Senators had like 50 shots in that game.
Did they?
Yeah, it was a lot. They honestly kind of dominated the Kings, and the only reason the Kings were like even in that game was because the Sens goaltending was just garbage. I think they had
was it Forsberg in that?
Forsberg, and then Forsberg got taken out. There wasn't really like clearance on whether he got pulled or hurt or whatever.
Yeah.
And they put Sogard, I think is his name.
Yeah, if it's Sogard, it's Matt Sogard.
Yeah, Matt's. And neither of them were very good, but
they got them to win somehow. So the shots were 41-26 for the Senators. So it wasn't quite 50, but I mean 41 shots is still that's still not a good defensive effort. Honestly, that's very sharp. Well, the 14 goals against and then those shots, that would be last year's Sharks. Allowing 40 plus shots and getting scored on like 6-7 times a game. So after the game, we got introduced to a new thing that gets handed out to a player after a win. It's been the Kepi for God knows how long. It's
since the Tours years.
At least it's been around for a long time though. But instead the Kepi is now the Donkey. So the first person that got it was, I think, very fitting. It was Sean Monahan, and he looked pretty pleased to be wearing it. And I mean, hey, you look good. So, I mean, hey.
Yeah, it kind of plays into that. I think the mix of things. One, it's a Johnny tribute, which is like, it goes into what I think you can really credit. I think the organization as a whole for honoring him. They've got the stall that seems to be moving around every game and all that. And then I think just like the donkeys, it's a little silly idea, and it just kind of adds that fun back into the game for a lot of these players that did not have it's not a great off season to kind of come out of.
Yeah, it wasn't a good season coming out either. So I mean, bad season and then rough off season. So yeah, it was just it. Right now, I think we're just having a breath of fresh air. Those 2 games, I think that proves that this team. We'll see in the following games that we'll get to here in a few minutes what they'll be like, but so far they're competitive. So one more thing, I don't think we mentioned it, was Kent Johnson's ice time. I think you were going to mention it, Gabe.
I did mention it offhand.
Okay, yeah.
I did mention it offhand, but yeah, what 21:30?
Yeah, 21 minutes 30 seconds,
Colorado?
and that's
He led all forwards.
Yeah, led all forwards
in ice time,
and that was 3 more than the highest he got in the entirety of 23-24, which it's just boggles my mind. The night and day difference.
Hey, to be fair, I think he's. I mean, last year I don't know if there was any game I would say Ken Johnson would have earned that sort of ice time.
No.
But these first two games have easily been, I think, Johnson's best games in a Blue Jackets uniform in his time here so far.
Easily.
Oh yeah.
Maybe against the Islanders a couple years ago, where he got that.
You can maybe say there were like a few standout games, but nothing as consistent in terms of performance.
Yeah.
There were a few standout games where he was just all over the board on the score sheet. This one feels like, even if he's just getting, just besides the fact that let's say Johnson did not score in any of those games, he would still have had insanely good games.
Yeah.
His back checking has been at another level, even compared to when he was in Michigan. This is what folks have been hoping Kent Johnson to be since we drafted him, and hopefully he keeps it up, right?
I can't see a reason at the moment why he cannot keep that up. He's, like he said, he's been the offense has been incredible, but also his 200-foot game has really blossomed this year. He's been a little puck thief. I mean, he's stealing pucks from I think he stole one from a car and Taze, like both of them, and those are not easy players to steal from. He's on the PK as well, which is not something we could ever say the past couple years.
To be fair, who isn't on the PK?
Well,
it feels like Evanston is just rotating lines out there.
Yeah, but I mean,
I will. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, if it works, it works. Him and Cole Sillinger, when they're on the PK, like, I don't think I saw them get scored on once. And I think we've had 3 goals against on power play or something like that, 3 or 4. Yeah. But I don't think either of them were on the ice for it. So they work. I've been really impressed. So
yeah, no, I was gonna say the as far as the who hasn't been on the power play thing, or the PK rather. I think I don't have the number right in front of me, but I thought I read somewhere Johnson had one of the highest amount of ice time on the PK of the team.
Yeah, so. And you could see why.
He's definitely one of the first options. It's him and Sillinger.
Yeah, they're both very good 200-foot players at the moment. So Yeah.
Sillinger's an interesting case because he hasn't shown up on the scoreboard at all, but he's looked good.
He's looked good.
He's there.
He's there. He doesn't. Sillinger's game, he doesn't necessarily have to be on the scoreboard points wise to make a difference. That's not real. Well, it is his game, but at the same time, it would help. But with him, I think he's definitely improved on face-offs. He's been good on face-offs. You can rely on him on the PK, and he's got enough skill to be with skilled players. So even if he's not like scoring necessarily, he's doing the little things, and he's not hindering the more skilled players, I would say.
I'd agree. I don't think he's hindering. I don't think he's hindering like Johnson right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I'm not sure like long term if I want to see Johnson continue to line up with Sillinger and Putia, but it's working right now. And I will say Sillinger's had some chances, and he's got this weird thing where he'll get chances right in front of the net and his like stick breaks, or he whiffs it, or like puck ends up in his skates. So he's just he's got some Boone Jenner to him where sometimes the chances you think he should get a good shot on, he doesn't.
Yeah. So I think we've beat the Colorado game to death. So.
Oh yeah, no, we explored that ground.
Yeah, I think
we beat that donkey to death.
Yeah, we definitely beat that donkey to death. So I guess we can move on to the upcoming games, and starting tomorrow, it's the home opener against the Florida Panthers. A few notable things. One, I'm going to it. Yay! I'm in the lower bowl because I made sure that I wanted to be fairly close to the action. I made sure it wasn't at the glass because I have gotten a seat like that, and honestly, it's not quite right. And I think it's because of the boards and like the glass. It kind of distorts things, and you're a little too close. So if you're higher up, you can get a really good view. But aside from me, being happy about getting seats and all that, a few things with players, a few notables. Justin Danforth is, I think, getting close to returning from his off-season wrist surgery? If I remember.
Wrist injury.
Yeah.
Didn't he break it or something?
I think he did break it.
It was a fairly serious thing.
Yeah. And it was just all of a sudden having surgery. It was weird.
He's practicing, is what I see in the notes. So he's there, and I know even before the season started, Don seemed like he was pretty confident Danforth would be back quick. So I'm sure that'll be fairly soon.
And then Zach Aston-Reese remains out. We're not surprised by that. Dylan Gambrell is going to make his debut on that fourth line with Olivier and Corrali. So that's something to look forward to. He was all right.
Interestingly enough, centering the line.
Yeah, centering the line. Corrali's not centering. I guess we can quickly talk about that, especially the Colorado game. Corrali was not good. He
hasn't been.
No.
Rough preseason. Rough
preseason. He kind of looks lost sometimes. Like he's still trying to play the old system, but that's not really working because this is not the old system. He's still a good player. Don't get me wrong and all that. It's just it's not quite working the same. I think he even got taken off the PK in the Colorado game because I remember one of the goals, like him and Olivier just looked rough on that. But he's still playing. He's not a healthy scratch or anything. It's just he's on the wing, so I mean maybe that'll free him up a little bit and help him out a little bit. Then more
by comparison, somebody who is healthy scratched.
Was that sorry?
By comparison, somebody who is healthy scratched, who we can have a lot to talk about,
is
David Jiricek.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, Scott has a lot of
Yeah.
opinions.
Yeah.
I have thoughts. I'll let
Scott,
y'all,
take it away.
Y'all talk.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to start? All right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So he's not playing. So I mean, let's real quick. We'll go over the situation here. We're lining it up here properly. So last year was not a good year.
No.
Right. 40-something games in the NHL, but they weren't consistent performances, both for him or I think for his ice time and his coaching. And then, of course, we all know the roller coaster that was him getting sent down and then sent back up and then sent down and then flown out for a Western Canada trip and never playing. So needless to say, front office kind of messed with that relationship. So now coming into this season, and he's a healthy scratch. It seems like he'll be a healthy scratch for the opening night as well. So 3 games in the season. They've talked about it. So it sounds like they're doing the video work,
Yes.
and they want him to protect himself less is the words they've kind of used. Which sounds like they want him to be more aggressive, but they want him to do it within the system, which I think is perfectly fine.
Yeah. Yeah. He's.
Y'all have thoughts?
You want to go
My
first?
initial thoughts:
Yeah.
Jiricek is still developing. That much is obvious. The important question with Jiricek is that what do we want him to be, and what timeline do we want him to be at that point in time? Right now, do we think what road should it take? Should it be a guy who is on the third pair? Is he a guy who is on the top 4? Well, the top 4 is a little bit difficult because we have Damon Severson, so that limits the number of spots. And the other tends to be whoever's besides Werenski. Either that, or you're double shifting. You're putting Werenski and Severson, who are true best defensemen, next to one another, which is not necessarily a good idea. Okay, maybe we want him to be at that point in time, at that point of quality. What does he need to do to get there? And, where do we see him in, next year? Next year he's going to be in the same position that Ken Johnson was last year, where, we want him to break out. Ken Johnson had a really messy second pro season. He got sent down. He got for 3 games, then pulled back up for confidence reasons that were not properly explained. So I think you can overcome that was the second season. You can definitely overcome certain difficulties, but I feel like a better question we were to check is what do we want him to be? What developments does he need to make? And what timeline do we expect? I want him to be a genuine contributor on the top 4 next year. And after that, the matter is figuring out, okay, what steps does he need to take? His skating. His skating right now is not great.
Rough.
Let's put it that way.
It's unpolished.
Yes.
It's raw. Raw is the word
Yeah.
I'd like to use there.
Yeah. It's unpolished. He is better at certain things. He's certainly better at taking the aggressive decisions. He's certainly more physically prepared compared to past times. And we're looking at this, what do we expect from Jiricek this season is going to be the key detail that we're after here. Are we talking about a Jiricek that is... He's not going to be singing any power play time. So I think this is a development season. I don't trust sitting a guy 3 games in a row. That is a dubious move to me, but I don't think it's the end of the world just yet.
No. One thing that we did, last year, I remember distinctively seeing that Yarmo told him to get an apartment in Columbus, and then a week later was sent down to Cleveland. That was not a good look. But yeah, I mean, his skating, there's still issues there, obviously. I remember watching the preseason I think it was him and Provorov and him and Johnson, and those pairs were just disasters. They didn't click. They were defensively a miscue, and I remember a couple goals getting scored against them in the preseason. It was just ugly. So I think that was part of what was the decision in deciding to scratch him. Not demote him or anything, but scratch him. And I think that's why they're trying to do that video work. The problem is that's only going to work for so long. And I'll let you get into it a little bit more here soon. But yeah, it's definitely kind of concerning, especially high draft pick a couple years ago. You obviously want to see him play. So seeing him being a healthy scratch game after game, that could get really concerning. But to be fair to him, there's also a logjam. Like we said, that Severson coming in last year, Provorov coming in last year, because he's playing on the right side as well. We had Andrew Peak and Adam Boquist in the past. So there's always been a logjam in front of him for him to properly get ice time, but he also has to deserve that ice time, in my opinion. So if they can get that video stuff worked out, and if he gets into some games and he looks a lot better, then hopefully we're not having this discussion. And then obviously, to your point, what do we want him to be? Do we want him to be a third line defensive or not? Yeah, third pair defensive defenseman. Do we want him to be top 4 or top 2 minute muncher?
I mean, right now mostly that's the
but hands on. Yeah, it's up to you now. What do you have to say? Because you've been waiting for this segment.
Scott.
I figured I'd give you guys some time to really get your opinion. No, honestly, y'all said a lot of what I think, and that's I think we're despite earlier discussions that we've all had elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think we're all pretty on the same page that we don't want to see Jiricek sitting for too long. I don't think that's a good recipe for development for any young player, much less a high-end, former high-end draft pick like Jiricek. My concerns almost all lie in the whether or not this is actually a development move or not. Because that's my worry is, if they're throwing out this is what we're doing for his development, but in reality there's kind of some bargaining going on between the front office and Jiricek and his agent. The Jiricek and his agent go, well, we don't want to be demoted this year.
Yeah.
Well, if that bargaining's going on, I'm not a fan of that being the decision-making process. It seems like the communication's open. It seems like Walsh and Jiricek and then Don, it seems like they're talking. So I'm hoping the concerns and the worries are just overreacting. He'll get in on Thursday and then prove that he doesn't need to be taken out, and everything's good. But it's a situation that unfortunately we kind of have to bear, just watch and keep an eye on. Because if it starts, if we start getting less into games he's been out and more into weeks he's been sitting out, I'm certainly going to be a little bit worried about the situation.
Yeah, I think we all are, definitely.
I'll put it this way: I don't want to have this conversation next week.
Yeah, if we're having this conversation next week, stuff's gone wrong.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got Florida tomorrow. They're without Barkov or Tkachuk, I think. Tkachuk might be back. I don't know.
Tkachuk is going to be back.
Is he? Okay.
Yep.
So they're just going to be without Barkov. But I mean, that's a big piece.
Yes.
Hopefully we can take advantage of that. Maybe sneak a win in. I'm not saying like, hey, we're going to beat him or anything. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful compared to past years where we play Florida and it's like, okay, that's a loss. Like, that was just instant loss the past couple years playing Florida. But, what? So we have Florida, and
after
then
that we have Buffalo.
We have Buffalo, another rough start again. 1-3,
Yep.
not great. They did get that win over. I think it was it Florida, or
I think it was.
was it Florida? No, that was
Yeah.
Ottawa. Sorry.
Yeah.
But they did get that win finally. So they're looking to get closer to 500. We'll see who's in and out of the lineup towards that game on Thursday, and then on Saturday.
Speaking of game on Thursday, Scott,
sorry.
you're
Yeah.
gonna be there.
Yeah, I'll be
You'll
at the,
be at the
I'll be
game.
at the game on Thursday as well. So I guess we'll have
I don't
a
think
couple...
I'll be at a game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's going to be an interesting following of the season, entirely remote.
And then Saturday we are once again against the Minnesota Wild, so maybe we can get some revenge against them. They are 1-0-2, and they've kind of like plodded along. They're getting points, but like they're really not deserving it. It's been goaltenders that have been bailing them out, especially not Kakkonen, Gustafsson. Yeah, Gustafsson's been playing like he did a few years ago, which is kind of scary because he was a cheat code that year. He was just stealing games left and right for him. So all those games are at home, all of them at 7 p.m., starting at 7 p.m., heavy quotations there. But back
Which
to
really
the...
means starting at like 7-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the Florida game, though, because that's going to be the night we honor Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. So what... hold on, let me find that. What was it? Why am I not finding it? Does someone else want to do it? Because I am... Oh, I found it.
So,
Wow.
Gaudreau is going to be honored at the opening night. Guy Gaudreau is scheduled with the team at practice today on Monday the 14th.
Which is a nice little tribute.
Yep. The CBJ have painted 13 on the ice behind each net. They did the same for Kivlenikis when he passed, when they painted at 80. For people who can watch, Bally Sports is going to have a pregame beginning at 6 p.m. And they will air a 30-minute special honoring the Gaudreaus starting at 6:30. They're going to broadcast a full pregame ceremonies, and the puck drop's going to be at 7:16.
Yep. So slight delay, but I mean that's gonna
Yep.
that's not gonna be an issue for this game.
The only thing that could be slightly better is if it started at 7:13, but that's like
Yeah, that.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little exact. I'm sure they'll do the 13 seconds of silence as well.
oh yeah, I know.
Yep.
They could do what New Jersey did, which was the 13 seconds of celebration. As a celebration of life, but
I like that. Just even more reason to beat up those cats from Florida, huh?
yeah.
Oh yeah. I think there will be
Eh.
a lot of emotion in that locker room and on the ice, and hopefully that turns into success.
I think it's going to be very quiet and very heavy and very weird for the like first 2 minutes. And then after that, it's going to be like playoff game atmosphere.
Yeah, it's going to be a madhouse. I can't imagine it won't be sold out. Maybe even past sold out. Like it'll be
standing room,
Yeah,
absolutely.
standing room. I'm pretty excited to be there at that game because I want to experience that atmosphere. Because I've never been to a playoff game, so yeah, that'll be an experience. That is for sure.
To paraphrase John Boyce, when he did the documentary series on the Atlanta Falcons, there's a part where he talks about the first game the Saints had on New Orleans after Katrina,
Yeah.
and the crowd is cheering. The crowd is deafeningly loud. The way they puts it is, this is no longer a football game. This is a celebration of life.
Yeah.
I think that's the territory that we're gonna get to with this hockey game. After a certain point, especially if we get a hot start, the switch from this is no longer a hockey game, this is a celebration of life, is going to flip.
Yeah. Yeah. If we do score a goal, especially early on, I think the roof will actually come off the building. Potentially.
Yeah.
Oh, nobody's hearing the cannon.
No.
That canner's getting drowned out.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think that's most of our storylines and points that we wanted to talk about today. Anything else?
We can always talk about the farm.
Yeah,
the
we want to
farm.
cover that real quick. Go through the monsters real fast.
Yeah.
That's not quite so much my alley. It's your two's alley, so I'll let you guys carry that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Scott, you want to take it away?
I can take it away. So a couple games this weekend for Cleveland. Lost the first one, won the second one against Hershey. Kind of a rehash of their playoff series last year. Matejchuk looked like Matejchuk. He's what we've come to expect, what we saw in the preseason. Great on both sides of the puck. Had a goal and assist for 2 points and a -1 in their loss against Hershey. But despite that -1, honestly, he was arguably the best player on the ice for Cleveland, from what I saw. And then the win at Hershey, Lugadel Belbelouz had a hat trick. I'm pretty sure that's his first AHL hat trick. So,
I think so, yeah.
Some good performances out of him. Mm-hmm. And then I guess a little note. So Sergei Ivanov, for those who have been kind of following his journey, has had a rough start to the year. Sochi, the team he's been loaned to, they're bad. He has not had a good start. He kind of lost the starting job to Flyers prospect Yegor Zabragin, I believe is his name. So rough start for Ivanov, which is kind of unfortunate because we need goaltenders to be developing at a good pace. But
yeah,
I'll put it in terms for people who don't understand how bad Sochi is. They wear the same colors as the Sharks, and they make the Sharks look good.
Yeah.
They are a team full of rejects and players that have gotten the ire after hire. Either they want to develop or have gotten the ire of somebody else. Mishkov played there for a while, and he was not having a good time at SKA Neva. Not SKA Neva. SKA St. Petersburg, which I'm sure Habs fans will know is not doing well with Demidov, and they didn't do well with Marchenko. And it's like, SK hates rookies.
Yeah, rookies just go to die
Rookies
there.
and young players. They sent him to Sochi, which is the KHL equivalent of being exiled.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a fun place to play hockey, but I mean, sounds like it from what I've seen, Cleveland's starting off well. So
Yeah.
what do y'all think about let's start with Matejchuk. How do y'all got thoughts on Matejchuk?
Honestly, if we didn't have such a logjam on our left side with Werenski, arguably Provorov, and then Christensen, we haven't really talked about him much. He's been good.
He's been a guy, which is really remarkable for a dude who's like undrafted.
Yeah.
He's decent. He's. I mean, honestly, I've liked him better than Provorov. So
But yeah, with those three, and then you have Jack Johnson, you have Jordan Harris, who we actually kind of completely forgot about. He's replacing Jack Johnson in the lineup tomorrow. So, I think he would be in the NHL right now if we didn't have that complete logjam, because he definitely looked NHL ready. But it never hurts necessarily to send a guy down even when he's ready, so that way he can just dominate the lower ranks, and then once some of that logjam clears, we can bring him up. I think he'll be up this year at some point, definitely.
I agree. That's yeah.
I think he should like. You say he was NHL ready. I don't think he was quite NHL ready. This is going to be a hot take. But I don't think he was quite NHL ready because we saw him in the preseason. He looked very good. I think he's going to need some time to adjust and handle. When I say adjust, I mean adjust into little things to a pro game. Because thus far, he's literally only played against kids.
Yeah.
He's been able to beat the biggest, meanest kid. He probably could play in the NHL. I don't think he's not NHL ready. I do think he needs to go up against people who have a little bit more physical maturity.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd go against pros instead of...
Go against not just pros, but physical maturity in general. If he was in the NCAA, this wouldn't be as much of a problem, right? Because he would have been able to go up against a dude who's like 24.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Even if that guy's not as good.
Yeah, it never hurts to play things a little bit slower with prospect development anyways. So
especially now that we suck.
Oh, yeah.
It's he's not going to be the make or break of like, hey, we added this new piece, we're going to make the playoffs.
No, we're not expecting playoffs.
No, please, I'm expecting the opposite. I'm expecting us to be a bottom-dwelling team that has a very good chance of getting a first-round draft pick, or first-round draft pick in like the top 5.
Yeah, first overall.
If not first overall, it's just like the only reason I'm not saying first overall is because I'm looking at that and going like, okay, maybe we surprise people.
Yeah,
and
also NHL lol.
You can't discount emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. The team strings together a few wins. You never know how far that could carry him, especially early in the season. I mean, we saw that first Larson year, just random bursts of win streaks.
Yeah,
and they wound up I think our pick was 12th.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was
you never know. Yeah, it was Matejchuk.
Mm-hmm.
So
we got Jiricek because of in the Safton trade.
Yeah. Thank you, Stan Bowman.
Absolutely. Can we call Stan Bowman and offer him a slightly used Provorov?
Yeah, in return,
maybe Edmonton wants it.
Yeah, in return, first round pick. Thank you. So got that. I don't think there's any other prospects we really wanted to touch on necessarily. I can't think of any.
I think the only one that I could maybe bring is like the whole thing with Caden Lindstrom, but I think that's pretty settled.
Yeah, it's pretty settled, and not much has really happened.
Yeah.
Let's wait till we see like a significant. I mean, I think everybody knows at this point that he's still recovering from his back injury.
Mm-hmm.
He's skating now, at least on his own, from what it sounds like. And it sounds like they're expecting him to be kind of going full bore in November.
Yeah.
So we can always bring him up and maybe get a little deeper into what we expect from him once we know he'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely. I think that'd be good. So yeah, I mean, I think anything else you guys want to cover?
Good for this week. It seems like we've covered most of the basics here.
We covered plenty of ground. We've got plenty of time.
Yeah, definitely. So we all met, by the way. I forgot to mention this. I think we all did, actually. How we met through Discord, ironically. We are all Discord minions, so we'll put a link down below from the server that we're from. Make sure to follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Twitter. We might make an Instagram. I don't know yet.
I don't think we're quite on Apple Podcasts yet.
Are we not?
We should be.
We should be soon,
in the very near future, because we're still sorting out in terms of like, okay, what phone number we're gonna put there, because we need a phone number for register for
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh no!
Yeah. But yeah. If you want, we'll also put some of our socials in the links that we'll have down below, especially on YouTube, stuff like that. And we'll also put our Discord name, so that way if you want to talk to us in the server for some reason, if you join, we'll be more than happy to talk to you. No promises we'll not have some fun with you, but that's just kind of how the server is.
Yeah. I'll plug it in my Substack because I've been doing a writing exercise. It's rather flowery.
Yep.
But I've been doing a writing exercise of writing a flowery game recap to see if I can get some very good some writing practice in. And it's short term. It's got limited aim, so I'm going to be doing one for each game of the season. So if you'd like to give it a read,
Yep, go ahead.
feel free.
Yeah. And then are we gonna stick to once a week for now?
I think that's the initial plan.
Yeah.
And then if we decide we need more time and we want to branch out, especially once like the season gets a little deeper and we start talking about prospects more.
Yeah.
It might be to the point where we need a full prospect episode here and there.
A context between me and Scott's that we're both sort of like prospect fiends.
Yeah, and I'm more towards just the Blue Jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe next episode / next week we might have a guest.
A random dog event appears to be good enough in the background.
Yeah, sorry about that.
The dog might be the guest. We don't know.
Yeah. He's just really, really excited about the Blue Jackets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be excited about for once. It's not. It's not. We wish we could drink our misery away, which is just refreshing. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think
so. Now, if I drink after every loss, I won't develop liver problems like I would have last season.
Yeah.
I mean, you still could if you want to.
Yeah, but it's not from watching them. Yeah, watching them does not cause us to want to drink now. So
yeah, it's actually fun. It's fun.
It is.
Even Minnesota when we lost, like it was a fun game to watch. And that's something we haven't been able to say for quite a while.
Nope.
I'm excited about the season because for the first time in how many years are we gonna have fun Jackets hockey?
Yeah, I mean, even with Torts era hockey, it wasn't necessarily fun to watch. The 2019 playoffs was fun, but that's because it's the playoffs.
Yep.
The playoffs is almost always fun, especially when the team you root for is in it. So yeah. Thank you for everyone who listened or watched this podcast. Tell us what you think in the comments. Review us. Say what you like, what you don't like. And then if you have suggestions or if you have questions, feel free to ask them or say them. Doesn't really matter. Anything else you guys want to add?
Go CBJ. That's all I got.
Yeah. Go Jackets.
All right. Yep. Go Blue Jackets. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Peace out. Have a good one.